You have lost it. You read the Nazi policy.
Yes.
You read Mein Kampf.
Yes.
What did Mein Kampf say about Zionism?
I mean,
What did Mein Kampf say about Zionism?
Hitler's a mad anti-Zionist. He wanted to kill all Jews. But his policy in 1932, when he won that election, was to deport Germany's Jews to Israel. And the Zionist movement had secret meetings with this administration talking about that.
I wholeheartedly apologise.
Last week in Britain, the MP Naz Shah was suspended by Labour for suggesting on social media 2 years ago that Israel be moved en bloc to the United States. But later, Labour's leader Jeremy Corbyn's close friend, Ken Livingstone, made Labour's crisis far worse when he tried to defend Shah on the radio.
Let's remember, when Hitler won his election in 1932, his policy then was that Jews should be moved to Israel. He was supporting Zionism, and his boy went mad and ended up killing 6 million Jews.
The whole thing has sent Labour's left into an absolute tailspin.
Most people, the vast majority of people on the left, abhor anti-Semitism. They regard it as a menace, a threat, that within living memory, millions of Jews were exterminated. And that is a memory, a living memory. People still remember being in the concentration camps. That was the culmination of hundreds of years of persecution. And that at this time, anti-Semitism is on the rise. Now, when people talk about what happens in terms of the Israeli government, I myself am a passionate critic of the Israeli government and the occupation of Palestinian lands, the illegal settlements and so on. But what is insulting and pernicious is when Jewish people talk about their own experience of anti-Semitism, that instantly some people go, well, what about Israel's behaviour towards the Palestinian people? They have to be separated.
Ken Livingstone is a bit of an institution in Britain, and yet here he is trying to defend the indefensible.
I mean, do you understand how those remarks, you say you're telling the truth, but how they would upset a whole community, how they would upset people who lived, survived or died during the Holocaust to be used in any sort of comparison today?
What John Mann just said isn't true. I've not said that Hitler was a Zionist. What I said was his policy in 1932 was to deport Germany's Jews to Israel.
It's remarks like these that can only encourage anti-Semitism in Britain.
Are you saying what I said is true?
I'm not going to go... I'm not a historian. I'm not an expert.
Sorry for mentioning Hitler.
It may or may not be true, but are you willing to say here and now, I'm sorry
for mentioning Hitler?
Well, I regret mentioning Hitler.
No, you're sorry, Ken.
I always felt that I am a girl. I just didn't know how to deal with that. In the community that I come from, trans people don't exist. It just didn't exist. No one ever mentioned it. I would pray very heavily to God, hope that I'm gonna just go to sleep and wake up the next day as a girl. I basically followed the very traditional path of, I guess, manhood within the Hasidic community. I got married when I was 18, and I had a son a year after we got married. In the beginning, I was still living in the community. When I opened my first Facebook account under a female persona, I was still married.
The transgender generation is very much a success story from the 21st century. And yet there are communities living here in Melbourne according to the principles set down centuries ago, and they too must be allowed to live their lives in accordance with those practices.
Hidden in the heart of Melbourne's latte society lives a secret religious sect. An ancient Jewish community whose traditions date back to biblical times.
Just because the world has changed, we haven't changed.
Its followers are ultra-orthodox, ultra-insular and ultra-strict. Not just in their dress code, but in every facet of their daily lives. To outsiders, their ancient rituals may appear strange, but these strict religious practices dictate their daily lives.
5 seconds left.
And are at the epicentre of their faith. Steeped in piety and prayer, they're proudly self-sufficient. Strictly segregated by sex, they marry within, and for the most part, shun the trappings of the modern world.
No devices in this house, except for my telephone, nothing.
Like a community lost in time, their strictly Jewish world revolves around their sacred synagogue.
Their clothing may be weird, but we don't think we're mad at all.
Now, for the first time, television cameras have been allowed inside this closely guarded sect.
Don't film me, this is embarrassing.
But not everyone is happy about it. Welcome to the secret world of Australia's Adass Israel community.
The earth is soft beneath my feet, the sun ablaze with desert heat. The quiet stillness does not last, intermittently gunfire blasts. I stand on guard, alert and ready, my gun positioned, my hand is steady. Within my being I feel the ache of prices paid for victory's sake. Although I'm weary of death and war, I must be brave at 24. Pain and grief tucked away, replaced with strength renewed each day. That's been embedded centuries deep, and glow with hope for us to reap. And everywhere a silent prayer, emitted from a soldier's heart, rings out upon this historic land of which we are a part. We're celebrating a very special birthday this week coming. We're going to be standing with Israel. We're going to be drinking with Israel. We're going to be laughing with Israel. We're going to be eating with Israel. We are going to be loving with Israel. And we're going to be living with Israel. And we're going to remember with Israel. We're going to play with Israel. Going to partay with Israel, we're going to love with Israel, and we're going to pray with Israel. On Thursday, May the 12th, at 4 o'clock, at Beth Weitzman in Caulfield, we are going to have a family party, and you're very much welcome to join us to celebrate 68 years of Israel's independence.